Let's see. Lars was here way early this morning. Unfinished project thereafter. Dan E. Boyd, Wendy English, and Don English, the One-Eyed Cat, Mrs. One-Eyed Cat. Twisted Dennis, just like that. It's Friday. Stand by for action. No, not just like that. This Friday was hard to get to and harder to get through. More on that in a minute. Race Array is here. Old McDonald. Maybe a little late. Shopping with the grandchildren this weekend. Right on. You have fun. Danny Boyd says it must be an AI thumbnail. I don't know if he was kidding or not. He says he was joking, but I can tell you this is twice in the last week I've been accused of putting AI in a video, and I have never put AI in a video. The other was mounting those beadlock wheels in the pits at Bristol. The beadlock has the screws stay in it. There's 18 screws on one of those, and they're captive, so they don't go all over the ground. And this guy insisted they disappeared because it was AI. I'm like, man, I shot that video years ago, way before AI. But anyway, now everybody thinks anything cool is made with AI. It's exactly one of the many problems I fully expected. Registration link is up. If you still to register for the No Name Nationals, please do. It is only 187 days, 3 hours, 57 minutes until D-Day. Buff Del Campo. And by the way, thanks to Buff Del Campo for the thumbnail. I thought that was really cool. He showed that on his live, and I asked him if I could use it. That thumbnail on this live is in Paris, France, 1953, Buffalo Stadium. It's a first stock car race in France, and they were cars from the 30s and early 40s that somehow American cars went to France, stock car race on the dirt track in what looks like a horse racing venue or something. I just thought that was super cool. So anyway, Dean 7 is always the right number. If it's how many cylinders your vehicle's running on, no, it is not. But it could be. Mohawk says, hello, everyone. Howdy, Mohawk. NSB is here. Heavens Mopar Scott. Got it going on. He is getting ready in earnest for the No Name Nationals. Indecisive Garage Tim, howdy, how you doing? Pure Pontiac Garage, Miss Colleen Tebow, the secretary. Lumpy is here. Indirect Connection Jason. Glad all you all could make it. Main Street Mopar, Vintage Adventurer Drives. He's going out karaokeing with the cousins later. Lunar Outlaw Brian, hello, sir. If you do not have a Car Buddy or any of the other products offered over there, there is a link below, and there's a discount for the No Name Nationals community. It's linked in every video on Friday down there. No Name Nationals community gets a discount when buying from Lunar Outlaw Garage. Fine products, and his stuff is nice too. I got to tell you, it's really nice. Brian Beeler of Round 'em Up fame, hello. He says, boom, Mr. Wilburn. Thumper, the sweaty fat guy. Howdy. Man, glad all of y'all could come out. Unfinished Project says, what do you call a fake noodle? Oh my gosh, I don't think I want to know. Vintage Adventure Drives is still worn out from the road driving. That's understandable. An impasta. Yeah, maybe. The person says, I need to register not. I do that as soon as I can. Okay. Understood. We'll just put the link up. We understand that's a commitment for everyone. And the link is up. It's handy that way. One-Eyed Cat says, hello, enjoying some peanut butter ripple lamb. I don't even know what that is. Sounds like an up north thing. The Mid-South Lowballer. Thank you. Mopars, Mustangs, and Minivans says hello all, and Rob's Rods is here. Rob, I was thinking about you doing some of this time and chain stuff. So you do this stuff every day and worse. I was looking at that time and chain you were doing, some picture or something. Looked like a horrible one. Time and chain wasn't bad on this, but oh man, there's so many little things to sort out on this poor van. I think I got a bad ignition box on it too. We'll get into that here in a minute once we get caught up. NSB says, Jason, good luck on your new endeavors. Starting a new job is always fun. Yes. Indirect Connection Jason, very hardworking guy, got a new gig. Lunar says, just finished installing all the appliances in the kitchen. Now it's time to have a Guinness. Andrew Nelson says, good evening from Team Nivlac 57. Hello, Andrew Nelson. One-Eyed Cat says, ice cream. No root beer soda, or I would have had an ice cream float. Yeah, it's getting to be more ice cream season. I like ice cream. I just haven't eaten as much of it as I usually do. I like the stuff. I like it too much. Jason says he's pulling a tanker. He wants to recreate the movie Duel with a Honda Civic in the desert. Yeah, I had a fun day today. So I knew this morning I was going to fix the motor mount on the van. I knew I was going to fix the windshield wipers, right? That's pretty normal. So put the motor mount on, easy. Got the wipers done, easy. I did something I've never done before on that poor van. When the bushing broke in the wipers on the way home from Sykeston, the wipers got to where they would go all the way clear off past the A-pillar. Not a big deal unless you forget and close one in the door. And I did that, and it put a hook on the end of the wiper. I'm like, oh man! And the wipers were pretty new too. They were really nice. I'm like, no, I'm not replacing it. I've not gotten this thing worn out yet. So I straightened on it, tried to get it off. So who knows? It's probably going to miss the top half inch, but that's okay. At least I went to glass. I fixed that. And I used white lithium grease. Rich will be proud. Anyway, I get those things done. And then I'm sorting out the van, making sure nothing leaks, all that kind of stuff you do when you take everything apart on one like that. And it runs good and everything. Everything's good. I kept having to back timing out of it. And let's see what you guys think here in the chat. I was talking with Dallas. I have to back way too much time out of that to prevent spark knock. Just way too much. I can't run any advance on the thing at all. So anyway, that's not good. But other than that, it does run really well. And I started having a problem where it would just shut off with just no warning for no apparent reason, none that I could find. And what I'm thinking it is, after kind of looking around and exploring things, and I think that the ignition box is just getting to where the heat just causes it to shut off. Good news is you let it cool. I mean, I noticed it did that at O'Reilly. It just shut off. What was that? Idling just fine. Just shut off. It started back up, went on. Then at the bank, it shut off. And then for about a minute, it wouldn't start. It had no spark. Well, nice thing in a van is you can pop the hood right there next to the driver's seat. So I popped the hood. I pulled the coil wire. Usually had spark, nothing at the plug. I don't know. I don't think it's anything with the distributor module, any of that. I think it's ignition box. So. But anyway, the nice thing is when you have one make that you get a lot of stuff for, over years, like I got plenty of boxes and coils and anything. I can definitely troubleshoot that way without spending a dime. But it was just, it's a pain sorting this stuff out. Oh, and the best of all, if you haven't seen my most recent short, and one of the mods put the link up to this, I'd appreciate it. I did a short where I was adjusting my ignition time and going down the road. And in a van, you can do that because the distributor's in the rear. And you take the doghouse off, and you can just set it from right there in the driver's seat. Convenient as can be. So I was literally sitting at a red light, adjusting my timing. You know, I had a half-inch wrench just stuck on it. Well, all of this is fine. And I got it right about where I wanted. I said, you know what? I'm going to do one more little adjustment. And then I'm rolling down the road, and there's this, I don't know what it was. It was a tracked vehicle that works with the road crew, but it was little, and it had rubber tread tracks on it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's up with this? So I go around it to pass it. And as soon as I did, the wrench fell off the distributor, went over the transmission and on the road. I'm like, oh, this is great. So I pass it and I pull in. Well, I walked back and forth on that road twice. I'm like, how is this thing gone? How am I not seeing this wrench? So I'm like, okay, let me go where I'm going. So I ran out, I had to drop off the impact wrench, I had to borrow, crank bolt. I come back. I said, this thing has not grown legs and walked off. I'm going to find this wrench. So I start walking. I looked at my video because after all, I had shot the video right before, so I knew exactly where it had to be. I walked right by it. Then I looked back and saw it out of the corner of my eye. This wrench had fallen, bounced to the other side of the road, and then it had lined up with the white stripe on the side of the road to where optically you don't see it. It doesn't stand out at all. But I found it. I picked it up. And, it was a nice American-made Craftsman half-inch wrench I've had forever. So I did want to put it back in the toolbox, but that was just crazy. So anyway, everything today has just been like that, right? Anyway, tomorrow I'm going to, swap out the box. But I know one thing. When I go to Sykeston, I'm going to have a points distributor in the back of this van just in case. Anyway, I thought I'd take that time to tell on myself early in the live. Thumper says Napa ordered a power steering line yesterday. Made a trip to get it, and it's the wrong one. Oh, yeah, isn't that a pain? I live real close to town, which is nice. But there's virtues living farther out that kind of make me want to do that. I got one more move left in me. Need to do something. Tanner says, I have my first car with electronic ignition. What a crazy thing. Yeah, I mean, points and electronic both have their virtues. I generally like electronic, but when I say electronic, I mean simple electronic. GMHEI or the 4-pin Mopar box, one of those two. So it's really, really, really simple. One of those two. Bear Rose Garage is in the house. NSB I see NSB. He's here too. But then I see Rapid Transit J. Look at that. Saw one, called the other. There we go. Danny Boy had a 3/8 extension fall out from under my hood a few houses from mine, and I never found it. This wrench, I looked and looked and looked and looked. But the way it landed, it went across the road and landed right in line with the white stripe to where I didn't see it. 3 times I passed this thing, and then I saw it. And I had to walk back because I walked right by it. And I walked within a foot of it and didn't see it. And I knew exactly what I was looking for and still didn't. It's the kind of thing. Now, Dad could be walking by a block away and would see that and go over and get it. Danny Boy mentions that Chuck Norris died today. Yeah, 86, and the guy always looked, young and healthy. I don't know what happened to him. So at 86, you never know. But anyway, our thoughts are with his family. But what a cool guy. Indirect Connection says the timing chains and all of Dad's vans were so loose that constant timing changes were required to get up to speed. That sounds really scary. Death was so terrified of Chuck Norris that waited 84 years to say it's time to go. Well, 86, born in 1940. Yeah, guy was fit, healthy, athletic his whole life. I mean, he was, I think, 53 years old when Walker Texas Rangers started. I mean, look at the stuff he did in that. So I think that was cool. Colleen said that he died 20 years ago and it took the Grim Reaper enough nerve to do it. Yeah. Max Wedge Dick Dastardly. Hello, sir. Mostly Mopar. Hate that he missed the content creator live, but watched it afterwards. Hey, man, you know what? Just plug away. You're going to get it. And we try to put things in that are value. If you have any questions, you can always ask me. If I don't have the answer, I certainly know people who do. You can email John at PrincetonDragway.com if you need to ask any questions. And feel free to watch any of the content creator workshops in the past. We never take them down, so there's good info on all of them. We just want to be able to help any of the No Name 500 guys. But you're running second. I think you were at 388, if I'm not mistaken. So we should be having our 500 lives here really soon. And sure as I say that, Billy's probably watching this. He sends me this. Chuck Norris didn't die. He just got bored of being undefeated on Earth. So there you go. Could be a coincidence, or he could be watching. He watches, but he doesn't comment. Here's the link to Mostly Mopar. Thank you, Colleen. Thumper says, found a power steering line in my pile of parts so I could have the Firebird running this weekend if I apply myself a little. It is refreshing getting to work on a 318 Mopar because I just have all kinds of extra parts. When I need something, I have it. You know, I needed to get some vacuum hose. I just went in the garage and got it. Vacuum caps. If I need special Mopar bolts, I've got them. I got piles of bolts. It's great working on something that you have a lot of this kind of stuff. You don't always get to do that. But I got to tell you, I wanted to get some fresh vacuum caps because you know how those do. They start rotting and get all, you know, crusty and stuff. The regular black vacuum caps at O'Reilly's, 5 1/8-inch vacuum caps, $6.99. And no, I'm not kidding. I thought $18 for a tube of RTV was ridiculous, and it is. But $7 for 5 1/8-inch vacuums, that ought to be 99 cents. Mohawk says it's weird. I've been watching Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris documentaries the last few weeks. I hope the sun comes up tomorrow now that Chuck's not here to tell it to. Dean says if 318s weren't so reliable, you'd not have all the extra parts. A veritable support network exists. Well, where the extra parts come from is when you just buy junk stashes and motors. And, you know, I got a lot of 273, 318, 340, 360 stuff. RP Dynalo, anyone have Starlink? I switched from the $120 plan down to the $50 plan and don't notice a difference. Unfinished Project says RTV makes an excellent vacuum cap. I always figured it would, actually. But when I do it, I'll just take a piece of hose and RTV the end so it still slides on and off. I mean, actually, I'll tell you something else makes a good vacuum cap. Check this out. I had a port that I wanted to seal and did not have a smaller vacuum cap. So what I did was I took the little rubber piece that goes over. You probably, I think you could use with no problem I'd say with no problem you could just use a piece of vacuum hose. But I had this worn out Dremel accessory, an old grinder wheel for a Dremel. The stone was just gone, but that steel piece was there. I said, well, that's perfect. I pushed that in the hose, works like a charm. Had it in there a long time. It was great. Thumper says, who buys extra engines and stuff? Man, I got all kind of stuff. Andrew Nelson says a cup of coffee is $2.49. It is outrageous what stuff is costing now. It is outrageous. It's just crazy. I was grocery shopping yesterday, and there was a sign on the cooler at Kroger, right where the butter was. Got worried because I was in there to get some Land O'Lakes butter, but it wasn't in. There was a sign and a bunch of missing stuff about where the yogurt was, and it said, "We're working with our suppliers to ensure we can give our customers the best price," or something. So apparently it goes all the way up the chain. Heavens Mopar Scott says, how cool would it be to buy a ramp bus and drive it down to the No Name Nationals and back, rent it out for $200 a day, maybe eventually resell to get my money back instead of shipping the car? Dude, I mean, I don't know. Just you figure out your plan. Figure it out ahead of time. Just Mopar Joe says, a little RTV never hurt. Unless you're that dude that years ago, and I don't have it handy. Joe might remember which one it was on something of his. There was a guy in the comment, and I just feeling frisky or something. There was a guy in the comments who was criticizing Joe's use of RTV on an engine. It was just pure silliness. And so I was just having fun with it. It was in February of 2021. I remember the day. It was February 12th of 2021. And I remember that for a crazy reason. But anyway, this guy was just going on and on whining about this RTV. It was ridiculous. So I decided to write him back an essay, just pouring on the sarcasm as thick as it would go, just for fun. I slowed that guy's roll. I don't think he ever commented again. Unfinished projects as I have all the extra engines. Howdy, Joe. Thank you for coming by. So here's whatever that is Scott sent, a ramp bus or something. I only want $9,200 for it. Looks like a school bus that they've made around. What's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's neat. When I think of driving an old vehicle like that, like some kind of Dayton hub bus crawling down the interstate at 55, I always think of like an old 70s movie, when that's what people crossed America in, driving stuff like that. I've never been one to do it because of how long it would take. Cutter Down Garage 303, solenoids on Super Duty fender has acute vacuum cap over hot terminal to prevent arc. Colleen brews her own coffee. I have never drank a cup of coffee in my life. And I can tell you why. I remember, and I don't know what year this would have been, over 40 years ago. I was at vacation Bible school, and one of our teachers had on the table, or the craft table, a cup of coffee. And I remember that stuff stunk so bad. I hated the smell of that. Smelled like someone burnt down a house and put it in a cup on the middle of the table. And I have never had any interest in ever drinking a cup of that stuff, ever. Mostly Mopar. I've put a few rounds of quality electrical tape on a vacuum port and pinched it shut for temporary use. I've done all kinds of stuff for temporary use. The dead Dremel accessory, that shaft on that is perfect. Works like a charm. Yeah, it was Steve 1961P. That's exactly who it was, Joe. That was him. I wasn't gonna call him out, but I don't care. Max Widge Dick Dastardly, I bought someone a cold coffee, $3.50 for one drink. I won't even go there. I know how that goes. Left Turn Dodge, No Name 500 contender. Here's the link right here. If you're not yet subscribed, or if you have yet to check out Chris's channel, you should. He's got a neat channel. So if you want to watch classic Mopars bombing around the circle track and cool old school roundy round engine builds, that's a neat channel. So check it out. And Left Turn Dodge is right here. Watch your TV with the dad. Cool. Dakota's in the house. JMJ says, I'm 444. I'm assuming that's 444 subs for Left Turn Dodge. Gosh, man, 56 away. Andrew Nelson drives hundreds of miles a week. I have it running intravenously. I can see that. Yeah, a friend of mine is a weightlifter, and his pre-workout was a cup of coffee. That's what he loved pre-workout. RP Dynalo says coffee is nasty. I agree. I can't stand the smell. So you guys, I don't know if you've heard of Virginia Citizens Defense League. It's the biggest gun rights group in the state of Virginia. Well, President Philip Van Cleve and I, we're friends. We go way back. And he hates coffee too. And we kid about it because all the rest of the guys like coffee. And I told him, I said, I think that where they get coffee is when a house burns down. They grind up all of the old framing and then just run it through a sluice or something. And that's coffee. He's like, yes, that's where it comes from. We're both just like, stuff is so nasty. But I don't meet many people that are like me. But RP Dynalo and Philip. Joe says, I hope to see Andrew Nelson again this year. Yeah, me too. It's been too long. But I'm planning to be up in Pennsylvania before too long anyway. So Andrew says it's on the list. Hey, man, let's hope it stays. You know, things happen, but let's hope it works out. Max Wedge Dick Dastardly says, my oil pump pickup screen is always clogged with pieces of RTV. A little too much, I guess. I'm going to have, when that engine ever comes down, it's going to have pieces of nylon gear teeth all in the pan or the pickup and everything. But the van's going to get a fresh meal before too long. Indirect connections like my dad. He likes to have a little bit of coffee with his cream. And that didn't do sugar, but he would put an enormous amount of half and half in coffee. Dean Stevenson. He felt the same way with reading non-King James version of the version 9 Bible, 1629. Sounds pretty close on the year. Main Street Mopar, was there a 509 solid purple shaft for the small block? I'm pretty sure there was a hydraulic. I don't know if there was a solid. But it is worth your while to get that cam spec'd. You know, I would actually, if I was going to do a cam, you know, get your combination together and get the heads flowed. Then call Professor P. Get your specs. That would definitely be the way to get the most out of it for sure. Just Mopar Joe sees the 188 on the wall. Drew has my CRT trans and is putting in the brake. Mike Ivan got the converter day and is giving it his magic. I should get some better launches and better mile per hour. Y'all look out. Just Mopar Joe coming for what may be his third bracket win. Third bracket win in 5 No Name Nationals. We'll see. He had the steepest uphill road to get there last year, and he did it. So we'll see. Unfinished project drinks coffee, but not because he likes it. RP Dynalo, I think I associate coffee with the smell of an ashtray. Might as well be. It's almost as bad. Man, to me, there's just nothing worse to walk into a place just with that coffee brewing. There was a guy I knew who liked to meet his clients at Mill Mountain Coffee because it was just down from our office. Which is fine. I don't care. But one time I had to meet him there, and I'm like, oh, this is awful. Just walk in the door, and it just smells like a rogue wood fire with people burning pallets or something. It was terrible. But some people just love it. They just say that's the best reason to go meet theirs. They love the smell of the coffee. Oh, everybody's different. Oh no. Oh, had a pop-up for an ad blocker trying to run. It's coming up on my screen, and I'm like, oh no, I hope this thing's not blinking out on me. Be my luck today. Heavens Mopar says the only way I can drink coffee is with enough sugar and cream to make the spoon stand up on its own. Yeah, I don't think there's enough, but 1611. That's what I was thinking was the 1611 version. That's exactly right, Joe. I think you are correct. Yeah, 1611 was the OEM version, but it got debugged. I think it got debugged and rebugged. That's a whole other story. Dakota says, get the catalog and go straight to the bottom of the page. No. Remember, Main Street Mopar's got good heads. He's got W2 heads. So the better the heads, the less cam it takes to make them work. Mostly Mopar used to drink coffee, but now I have to speak to people after church, so I swapped to sugar-free Monster for waking up. Joe says, and now I've got to beat Levi. Yep. Got to make it happen. Indirect connections is the worst part of coffee is the smell of the drinker's breath. I don't know. Coffee's just not my jam. Dakota bought a roller cam for his Pontiac 455. Most like the Type LSA, but I ordered a 114 LSA for my high compression 455. I figured it'll run smooth and bleed off cylinder pressure for pump gas. Okay. I mean, that's already a huge amount of duration. Why get the lobe separation so wide? That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, isn't that an inline valve head? I mean, if it is, you give up a huge amount of power, I would think. But Andrew Nelson loves the smell of Colombian-grown coffee. I love it. All others stink. Okay. Well, Thumper, that 236, 242 duration is at 50. You know, that's a lot, actually. .318 got a broomstick cam in it. I advanced the chain on this one 4 degrees. They came from the factory with a big white LSA. Okay, but, I mean, doesn't mean it's optimal for making any power. Like I said, the 318s came with just a broomstick of a cam in them. The only cam that really was even remotely hot was what they put in the manual transmission 340 cars, the early ones. Those had a pretty good amount of duration, fair amount of lift, but the 318 cams were nothing. Left Turn Dodge thinks that their cocaine is better than their coffee. Their smells better. I don't know. Never tried any of that. Never tried either. Junkyard D, hello, sir. You finally getting any better relief from the weather up there? Thumper knows talks cam and yeah, well, that's you should, but you know, advertised is what goes on a lot of stuff. That's changing though. Thumper's blower engine has a lot more 50. Yeah, that's a blower engine too. Izzy is here. Hello. Thumper says with aluminum heads, you can probably get by retarding the timing, which will hurt power. Yep. I got a problem with my van. Since we got some brain trust in here, I cannot get rid of the detonation until I get the thing to having no timing advance at all. With the vacuum, it's fine. I may have too much total timing because it's a stock distributor. It's never been curved, but I can't get any initial on it, or it just, wants to ping. And it's a low compression 85 318. Junkyard Deese's motorcycles are running now. Thumper says my other Butler engine was a 467 with the same cam size, 700 horsepower and torque under 65. Yeah, blower motor. That's stout. Dizzy wants to get these aluminum heads from Shane. Yeah. Sounds lean. Shouldn't be, but it may be. I got the wrong carb on it right now. I bet it has 25 degrees mechanical advance built in. Yeah, probably. I was hoping to run about 10 initial, but I can't. Pings. Okay. Yeah, good deal. Because those numbers should be doing a lot more now with the blower. The 700 foot-pounds is 700 foot-pounds no matter what. That's a lot. Dizzy's not scared. Well, not much anyway. Yeah. I've never run aluminum V8. Well, I can't say that. I've done some LS stuff, but nothing of mine anyway. Did you weld up that engine mount? No, I replaced it. No, the engine mount that was on it was pretty new when I got the van. It had just been put on. And I don't have it in here, but I did a short on it. It's separated like it was just never bonded. The rubber looks just fine, looks new on the thing. And it's separated, and it was just never bonded to the mount. Just junk. And just Chinese garbage. And they had installed it upside down. So on your Mopar engine mounts, like for the truck, there's these little indentations in the metal to tell you which way it goes up and down. And they had it installed upside down, which makes very little difference, but it wasn't in there straight, and that was why. So I got it. I got it all. I took it out. Needed to come out because it's broken anyway. No big deal. Just something you do, 20-minute job. The much bigger job is all this other electrical grim one. I think it's ignition box. RP Download, I have a completely stock 66 satellite with a 383 with 48,000 miles. What factory heads do you think it has? Well, we got Joe in here. He's the perfect person to ask that question. Joe, what would that be? It's a 66. Would they be 915 heads, or what heads would those be on a 66 383? 516s, Jason's saying. Andrew Nelson's going for another 4-digit dyno session on Sunday. Exciting. Mostly Mopar said that mount looked like they let the wet paint hold it together. You're not even kidding. Yeah, I mean, it literally, the thing, see those old mounts, when you got them, they weren't painted like the new one. And when the rubber would rot, you'd have a rubber stuck to both sides. The rubber had to rot down the middle and rip and just shrink. Took that to tear one apart. This one, when you looked at it in the van, it looked great because you could tell it was newer. Somebody put it in. And But the motor was picking up, and I knew it was a mount. Fortunately, it was one of those fail-safe styles. So the fan didn't, go through the shroud and radiator and everything else, fortunately. But Joe says, I've had someone recommend to go ahead and run a few bolts through with nuts. What, on motor mounts like that to make them fail-safe? The new ones are really nice. The shells with the studs have these overlapping hooks. So if it fails, it can't move but, less than an inch. It's really nice, actually. And those you could retroactively put in any of the old Mopars that didn't have them. I know that I would still have a really nice 3-core brass tank radiator if I'd had that kind of mount back in the 90s. Main Street Mopar's taking his W2 heads to the machine shop. Joe says 915s were 67 only. I believe. Okay, I wasn't sure. I knew they were old. I knew they weren't. I was thinking, but anyway, 66 is 516s probably. Yeah, I guess. Indirect Connection says the 516s were smaller valve but closed chamber. The pistons will be dished down the hole. The 906 452 will flow better but kill the compression. Assume it's a low performance engine. Well, don't forget it's a 383. That's a 4.25 bore. So the smaller valves are fine. Dizzy says, Dean, gonna rent an aluminum hauler for No Name Nationals and use the Fury to pull the Vagrant. You can drive the Fury to Lambert's. Cool. Thumper says, what heads were on a 64 426 wedge? I would imagine they would be the max wedge heads. We have an expert on such in here right now. I'm sure he can tell you. Yeah, I don't know what heads I'm going to run. I got some 308s. I'm wanting to do a 318 stroker for the van. I mean, it just needs it. We're going to sort out all this other mess with the carburetor and intake. I do want to swap the carb on it here. But Max Wedge Dick Dasher says, my dad ran 67 heads for years. Thumper says, not a max wedge. They ran regular wedge in 64 too. Yeah. 426 wedge, yeah. They had, I don't know. It's a good question. We got guys who are proficient. Isn't the van a 360? No, it is a 318. It's got a 360 distributor in it. It's the only 360 part. It is a 318. Joe said, I had some of the heads that had the pedestal mounted rocker arms, but they were standard port size. You can notice them with only 4 bolts for the valve covers, closed chamber. I've never even seen those. That sounds cool, though. Thumper says, my dad has a 64 Sport Fury he bought new. It had the 426 in it. He bought its twin in 2014. Low mile original, been repainted once. Okay. Max Wedge says the street wedge had different heads than the Max Wedge. Okay, yeah, I don't know what they are. I have no idea. I don't know what numbers. That's way out of my wheelhouse. I like the small block. Much more familiar territory. Jason says non-Max Wedge had the same castings as the 383 413. Okay. Was it a 516? Dizzy says 413 had 11-to-1 compression and 13-to-1 compression heads. Man, 11-to-1. That'd be impossible to deal with on the street now without E85, I wouldn't think, or aluminum heads and well-managed timing and all of that. Old McDonald asked, what heads came on a 71 HP 440 block? I don't think the 352s that came with it are original. You mean 452s? Thumper says E85 makes 15 to 1 a daily driver, right? Yep. 286 rings a bell? Yeah, I don't know. Indirect connection says 516 from 64 to 66-ish. Okay, yeah, that sounds right then. Yeah, I'm not the big block aficionado, but we got plenty of guys in here who know a lot more about them than I do. I like the big blocks, certainly. Dizzy says 604 question mark heads? I have no clue. Dr. Go says, hello all. I'm late to the show, but always worth being here. Hey, thanks for coming by. Number says 516 sounds right for my dad's and brother's car. Older brother got it when dad passed. Yep, 516. It's a common head. RP Dynalo saying, from what I've heard, the 66 Commando had 10.1 compression ratio. Could be. A lot of cars back then had that much compression. Max Wage Dick Dashley ran faster with ported 516s than Edelbrock aluminum heads. Just being Edelbrock and just being aluminum doesn't necessarily make them fast or anything. It all comes down to, what they're like, ports and chambers and all that good stuff. Main Street Mopar suspects his W2 heads are 65cc closed chamber. Well, your machine shop can measure one for you, or you can measure it if you have one of those tubes. Indirect connection. Jason says probably a 906 for a 71 440, otherwise a 346. Yeah, I don't know anything about 346. I have heard of 906, of course. Yeah, I don't know. High roller, big block folks. Dakota says he likes the factory KRE heads. I don't know anything about them. You're talking about for Pontiac? Dizzy confirms. Andrew Nelson says, big day planned for tomorrow. Thank you for coming by. We appreciate it. Be looking for the content that comes out of it. And Just Mopar Joe puts up a number as cryptic as what Unfinished Project would do, right here. That looks just like something Unfinished Project would do. Heavens Mopar says, I'm assuming a 5,000 stall converter wouldn't make the trip to Lambert's. Car probably overheat. I don't know that it would. I mean, you'd be cruising. I don't know. I've never tried to drive a converter that tight, that loose on the street. What do you think, Joe? 5,000 stall converter? Make it a 7-mile trip? I don't know why not. Dr. Go, you're my new small block heads expert. There you go. Dakota says Kaufman Racing Equipment, they're a smaller company. I think they make aluminum heads before Edelbrock did. I think most people agree they perform better than Edelbrock heads. There's all kinds of great heads out there. And iron heads can make absolutely just as much power. Dallas, the American Hot Rod Association says, I have no idea about big block Mopar heads. I can't read the numbers when I'm out in front. Yeah. In Dallas, if you've not seen it, he is building the quadrijet for the van now. I've got an intake that I used to run years ago, and I'm going to be taking that intake and the van. Where I get this ignition bug sorted out, I'll be taking it down to Dallas's, and we're going to swap it over and tune it and get all these goofy little tune problems sorted out. And Unfinished Project puts up the number as well. It looks like the number. I'm not going to try to verify it. Dakota would like to have a big block Chrysler with the 440 Source stealth heads. Okay. Evans Mopar is debating which converter to put in, 5,000 or 2,500 stall. 5 be more fun, 2,500 be more practical. What are you going to do with it? Yeah, Scott, what RPM does that thing run up to? I'm hoping that beast has all the valve spring pressure. Joe puts it in order. 286, 516, 315, 178, 915, 906, 346, 360, 213, 452. There they are in chronological order. Outstanding. Thumper has a 2,400 stall behind his blower engine. It doesn't need more than that. Yeah, and it's also making an incredible amount of torque. It wouldn't do that behind a small block. Joe says, and you can throw most of them in the river for trot line weights. Indirect connection. The 906 452 were identical except for the hardened seats. Is that right? I don't know. Thumper says he runs 1900s behind most of my 455s, 2200s behind the 400s, and no deeper than 355 gears. It's all torque dependent. Ooh. Joe, you skipped 518. Just Mopar Joe is wanting to see the T-Bird at No Name Nationals. Dakota's saying the Edelbrock heads are advertised at 270 CFM, but they have larger ports to get that. Dakota says it's only money. You can't take it with you. Okay. Well, most of us aren't going to, whether we have any or not. Exactly. You have to have the money first. Now let's be careful what you ask for. Thunderbird is an osprey. I'm pretty sure its main diet. Dr. Go could burn rubber like he can burn through money. He does some kind of car. I hear it. I'm telling you. Everything's just stupid expensive anymore. Ridiculous. I just think these parts stores, these retail parts stores, is the biggest ripoff I've ever seen. O'Reilly's has Wick oil filters, $15 for a 5151.5. I look online, it's less than $5. Same filter. I mean, it's ridiculous. Max Wedge says his valves don't hit the pistons, just the block. And you say it was the exhaust that's hitting? Sometimes when people have way too big a valve, it'll hit. And in fact, I think Mopar Performance had a tech bulletin that said when you're putting like the 202 valves on the 273, that you have to notch the block at the top. I'm like, man, that is the most ridiculously shrouded valve ever. It actually hits the block. I don't care what kind of 273 I have, I wouldn't run a valve that big. He says our friend Barkley has his S10 at home, very bad in blue. Hope Barkley's well. I haven't seen him in here in a while. Dr. Go has a video of an osprey diving for fish about 4 different times. Pretty incredible and fast. Joe said it was the 8675309 casting that got Jenny's number. Love it. Junkyard D, anyone heard from Tanner? He was in here earlier. He got back. Why would you put 202 valves on a 273? Well, I don't know. I just remember Mopar Performance had a tech bulletin that said if you did, you had to notch the top of the board and the block, which is crazy. And it's only a 3.63-inch bore. It won't even clear a 202 valve. So there isn't a good reason to do it. Look how incredibly shrouded that is. But they had a bulletin on it for people who wanted to do it. It says faster than the Cutlass. Yeah. Nice and lightweight. I'm sure it'll move. Lone Wrench Mike is here. Hello. Joe is on his game tonight. Joe's always on his game. Max Wedge Dick Dasher says factory valves 413 Max Wedge blocks were notched. Mine's 60 over 426, but hit anyway. Yikes. Dakota says if I was built a 273, I'd want at least a 219 valve. I don't think there is any bore size of small block Mopar you could run a valve anywhere near that big. Dallas says the 273 is the same bore as the 215 aluminum block V8. Yeah, it's 3.63 and a 3.31 stroke. Danny Boyd says 215 is a tiny stroke. It's got to have a tiny bore too. It's 215 cubic inches. What is the bore and stroke on a 215, Dallas? Well, say if it's a 363 bore, the strokes is probably less than 3 inches. Probably like a 3 or 289 Ford stroke crank or something close. I'm just guessing. I plugged in the stroke of a 289 Ford, which is 2.87, and I got 237 cubic inches. Exactly. Thumper says, I have both 64 and 65 326s. They have a 3.72 bore. So 211 intakes aren't going to fit. That has a long stroke to it because the 318 is a 3.91 bore. Busted Radio Garage, hello. I saw you live this morning. 408-inch Edelbrock headed blower motor and noisy cricket. RP downloads the 273 would rev to 10 grand then explode. There's a lot of things that'll rev to 10 grand once. Dean Stevenson says that with 5.66-inch rods, the 273, 6.125, spare the rods, spoil the Mopar. No, the 273 had 6.125 rods also. Had the same connecting rods because it had the same stroke and the same deck height as a 318 and a 340. 9.56 deck, 3.31 stroke. Just had a tiny bore. Thumper says the 326, 350, 370, 389, and 400 Pontiacs all have a 3.75 stroke with 3-inch mains. Yeah, Slant 6s all had a 3.4 bore and then 3 different strokes. 6.123, right. That will be the rod of the small block Mopar. All of them. All of them had that rod length. Yes. Most of the old parts wrong. Ward, learning a new CAD program tonight. Outstanding. I always thought it was cool before it was really popular, before it was really a thing. Bob Chandler designed Bigfoot 8 in AutoCAD and built what we certainly believe to be the first completely fabricated tube chassis monster truck chassis. I thought that was really cool, and he did it in CAD. Truck worked so well it was banned for 8 months from the sanctioning body because nothing else could run with it. And that is what vanquished all of the chrome and steel and all of that factory-looking goodness out of the monster trucks. That was the end of it. Busted Radio Chris had fun with the cricket today. There's rubber everywhere. Hope you made content and all. I saw you live. You were doing the day of stream live. Dakota says you reckon a 326 crank weighed a couple pounds less than a 400 crank. I don't know. I don't know about the Pontiac. I know your 273 crank weighed less than a 318, 340 crank. Busted Radio says the noisy cricket's dialed in. I'm playing with the Gremlin tomorrow. Nice. Dean Stevenson, what's 3 thousandths among friends? If you're friends with your rod bearings, it's a lot in your mains. Just Mopar Joe says, y'all hit that thumbs up. You feel so inclined. Thumper says he thinks that they're about the same, but you get some register differences on the hub over the years. Could be. Danny Boyd thought they were completely interchangeable. The only thing close to Pontiac he's ever owned was the Iron Duke, Iron Dork 4. Yeah. I kind of like the Iron Duke. I think it's cool. I really like the setup the post office Jeeps had. They had an Iron Duke 4-cylinder with a 904 torque flight behind it. How cool is that? And I have the only one of those I have ever seen in person. Chevrolet bell housing made onto a 904 torque flight case from the factory. Max Wedge Dick Dasher says my valves are 214 and 188 according to my crap caliber. That sounds right on the money, though. It's shoe good night. Is that shoe goo? Finger tight is tight. Depends who you ask. Finger tight Jones. Yeah. I've run to Finger tight Jones a time or two. Yeah, Buff Del Campo put an Iron Duke in a 68-ish Dodge Dart. Yes, he did. I'd love to see pictures of that. He was telling us he did it in the weekend. Busted Radio says, I hear finger tight is all 57 needs. Yeah, on rod caps, I mean, you just get under there and move that torque wrench around. You don't need it to break over or click or anything. Just that's only for people who believe that the rod caps clamp onto the crank instead of the rod itself and have a bearing clearance. But, you know. I forget what he did for transmission, the GM piece. I think he had a TH350 in it. I think that's what he said. I'm just trying to remember. Dizzy says, bro had a 67 Le Mans with the overhead cam 6. Very cool looking engine. Mostly old parts wrong. Ward says he's got a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe and it's entirely too loud. I usually set the volume on 4 and let the mixer do his thing. Busted Radio Garage says I should have offered more for it just for the content from it. Well, you still can. He probably needs the money. It's probably, I would say Larry is ready to get that thing out of that yard. Now will be the time to try again. You should. Ron Ward says, have any of you folks made it a Kohler V twin to a manual transmission? I'd say if they had, we'd have seen it. Max Wedge Dick Dasher says, Muttley hates lives. He bugs me the whole time. Don't jinx it. Jethro's in there. I'm sure he's asleep, so I haven't heard him, but he's across the hall. He's done a lot better with me being live. There we go. Buff says my 69 Dart had the Iron Duke at a 200 turbo hydromatic. Okay, that's what it was. I couldn't remember. Yeah, it was. I was thinking it's a TH350. It's TH200. Chris, I would have given him too much to talk about. Well, he backed out of the deal once. I feel it's long gone at this point. Get a straw buyer. I'd love to see you do burnout car with that thing. I mean, it is a ragged out piece of junk. Like the whole body mount is rotted off of the frame on the passenger rear. And of course, you know, that work has done nothing but take everything down. There's little he hadn't messed with and touched. I'd get a straw buyer and see if you can buy it. Just get you a straw buyer. It couldn't be me, but you can find one. And then just let it pop up on a video. Thumper says, I have a ragged out 75 Buick Skyhawk like a Monza, 3.8 with a manual transmission. I should build it into something and make it ratty as possible. Why make it ratty? Just build it. Whatever rattiness it already has. Making things ratty is weird. I definitely don't like when people try to make stuff ratty. Imagine if I had painted the van the way it looks now. Because it's already ready. Noted exactly. That's okay. That's cool. Dust Devil Brian says, howdy, everyone. Hey, man, thanks for coming by. Dust Devil Brian right here. Dallas says, Thumper, if a Buick V6 is in it, a Buick 300 will bolt right in. Okay. Ron Ward says, Thumper, use a later 3800 supercharged engine. Cool. Yeah, I agree. That would be cool. Max Wage Dick Dastardly says, I had a Monza, fine piece of machinery. Yeah. You know, it's a shame because a lot of those little cars were cool. They had bad rust problems and junk engines from the factory, so a lot of them didn't make it. There just aren't a lot out here anymore, but it's kind of a shame because they're so cool. Danny Boy says, when Ratty comes to me, it gets fixed. I get it. Dallas is here with the good times commence. Dallas has been here. He's been lurking. Ron Dallas is building me a quadrijet for the van. I've got the intake for it, trying to get it sorted out after this timing chain thing. And I keep having a bunch of little problems, so I'm trying to get sorted out now, but I'm going to. I've got it running a lot better. I drove it today out to Reiner, which is 9 miles out and back. Ran great. But I have a short out. I was rolling down the road with the doghouse off the van, adjusting the time, and literally from a traffic light, just, right there on Main Street while it's running. It's great. That's the only thing you can do in a van easier. Everything else is worse. Ron says that the V8 Monzas from the factory were a pain to change the spark plugs. Oh, yeah, a lot of that stuff was. It's not too bad on the van. My Aunt Nancy changed spark plugs in that van at least once herself. Took that cover off and changed them. I thought that was pretty cool. Haven't seen her tonight. She's got company tonight, though. A bit rattier, but a whole lot faster, though. Yep. The cops did not like the bungee cord hooked to the emergency brake to hold the driver's door shut. On the Jeep, I literally... I have a strap from a ratchet strap holding the passenger door shut, and then to tension it, I just happened to have laying there a 1/2-inch ratchet I put through there and twisted just like a tourniquet windlass, and then just stuffed it right in between the back and the bottom of the seat. Done. It works great. I need to weld that. It's not really a B pillar, but it's where it would be on that hard top. That hard top is in horrible shape. It needs some work done to it. It needs for me to do. I got to fix a lot of rusty old junk on the top. I'll probably do a video on it. Don says the V8 Valiants are bare to change plugs into, especially yours with a 440, I would imagine. Indirect Connection says Ron's Monza in Wisconsin didn't live long enough to bother. They were rotted in 5 years. Yeah, exactly. RP Download, what was the parts place that gives discounts to No Name Nationals, folks? If you are registered for the No Name Nationals, 10 to 15% off at Edelbrock.com. Everything in their catalog over 20,000 part numbers. And that's all over prices that are already comparable with Summit and Jex. We get an additional 10 to 15% off. And as we buy as a group, we move to even better pricing. We were the pilot program for doing a group discount for a group like ours. So for registered channels, registered participants, the No Name Nationals, 10 to 15% off everything in Edelbrock's catalog. And we have our own concierge, Mr. Alex So. And it's nice because you can go online, like Lone Wrench Mike, who was in here, bought a Pontiac intake. You go to the website and said it was out of stock. He called our concierge, Alex So. Alex says, nope, we've got some here, and shipped him one. So there is value in having our own inside guy. It's pretty cool. Thumper says, buy Mopar Edelbrock parts. That way I can get some heads cheaper. Tell you what, our collective buying power will move the pricing even better. Max Wedge Dick Dasher says, I'm on the shocks are so bad you can get it bouncing and bounce the front wheels off the ground. Oh, my. Thumper says the best part about Edelbrock is that in 2021 they moved from California to Mississippi. Yeah, they're there in the Memphis metro area. I believe Olive Branch. Wendy English is here. Howdy. Left Turn Dodge found a clean, straight, no rust. I guess a Monza. And Jason says it's really rare there. Yeah, it had to be. Danny Boyd wants to build a 289 or 302 for his truck. Cool. Yes, and Wendy did show up soon. Left Turn Dodge said it was a grandma's car. Yep. If you guys noticed the pictures I put of my dad a few days ago on what would have been his birthday, in the background there is a yellow 68 Falcon. And that car was rusty and junky by the time I was a little kid because he bought it years before. And he said it was like a 20-some thousand mile cream puff car that he got from an old widow. Still had the dealer's floor mats in it. Can't imagine the car looking that nice because I remember as a kid how rusty it was. Dakota says Danny Boyd needs to get his YouTube up and going. I'd watch his stuff. Mohawk says, watch the rear mirror before bouncing the front tires off the ground. The cop behind me didn't think it was funny. I bet. Most of the old parts are on Ward. Back in 1998, I was driving my next door neighbor home from work in the Roadrunner, 276 gears, 29-inch tires, 5,500 RPM. The original shocks allowed the car to knuckleball at 150 plus. Dude turned dead pale. I don't even know what all you're talking about, but to me, I would not have wanted to have been in that car. Danny Boyd says, if you did a channel, people might figure out he's stupid. Well, I mean, they could assume it without your help if you don't have a channel. I mean, you might help yourself out. No, but in all seriousness, if Danny Boyd had a channel, I'd like to see what he put up. I would. I'd like to see, the inside of Mustang content. I think it'd be cool. Unfinished Project says, after driving it home, we've only driven the 71 Dart one time since we bought it. Can't wait for better weather. It's a cream puff. Yeah, that's cool. I've seen that car. It's neat. Looking forward to more with that. Dakota, wants to know from the group, what do you think a truck like my D150 would do in the quarter or eighth mile with a stock 360 engine, y'all reckon? I know the perfect way to find that out. Danny Boyd says, I promise it will be the most poorly done channel you ever saw. I don't know about that. Just remember, if you don't think you can, there's a guy that spent 5 years trying to do a valve adjustment who does it and has over 1,000 subs. So just bear in mind, you're putting your talent pretty low to say that. Thumper's estimating a 950 in the eighth. RP estimating an 18. Dean's saying a 15.8 quarter. Danny Boy says, I'm kind of 220 myself. Right on, do it. Make a pan of lasagna. Actually, I made a baked pasta. It wasn't a lasagna. It was a nice baked dish. Made that yesterday. Make your channel name damn 220. Man, where's Lars when we need him? Upper says lasagna sounds good for some reason. Yeah, because I haven't eaten yet. Yeah, I might have some of that after the live. I make a pan like that, and it's just me, so I eat on it for days. I actually made it Thursday with no intention of eating any until today, but I went ahead and made it a day ahead. But gosh, it makes the kitchen smell so good. Oh, it smells so good. I cut up sausage and I cut up a bell pepper and I fry them both together. It just makes that kitchen smell so good. Kitchen will smell good for a half a day when I make that stuff. Dakota's D150 is 727, no four-wheel drive. Yeah. Dean's saying 1016 in the eighth. I can see it. Dallas loves his chicken tetrazzini. We all got our go-to dishes. Thumper says if he makes it Dan 220, everyone will think he's a fat electrician. Indirect Connection says, remember, folks, people sub waiting for dumb crap more than actual content. They do. They do. Dakota remembers a woman Rich talking about a woman that ate all his lasagna. I don't remember all that. Those still parts is now I'm craving lasagna. Thanks. I'm all about lasagna. I like it. One-Eyed Cat says, my go-to dish is anything Wendy cooks. Yeah. Ooh, Wrong Ward says, my go-to dish is jambalaya with chicken, sausage, and shrimp. Gosh, that sounds good. I like it. Dean says, if she ate my lasagna, she ain't trustworthy. That wasn't lasagna I made. That was just a pasta dish that I make and usually eat just as a pasta dish. But sometimes I bake it. I put it in a pan and melt some mozzarella on top. I opted to do that this time. I don't do it very often, though. Danny Boyd says, I actually cracked my phone screen crawling along some joists with Romex and flashlight and tools. I've done stuff just like that. Is there an Italian place in Sykeston? I haven't a clue. I really can't answer that one because I know I've never eaten an Italian place in Sykeston. We've been to a Mexican place, a steak place, Lambert's, of course. And, of course, there's freaking Arby's. because Arby's is like the only place that's open late. So I've eaten that Arby's a few times, actually. Phone was in the front pocket of my jeans. Yeah. Well, my screen, I have a screen protector that just stays broken, but I've not ever broken the screen itself. Dr. Go is with Ron on that. His mom's from Louisiana. Yeah. Junkyard D, what's on the No Name Nationals campfire cookout this year? Number wants to cruise the blower car more. Unfinished project had steak tonight given to me at Christmas time. Cool. Yeah, I make that pasta maybe once a week. And then I kind of forage with soup, sandwiches. Dallas vouches for a barbecue place in Sykeston near Lambert's. Danny Boy says, my last phone made it 4+ years, screen intact. That's a good streak. My iPhone 4S ran for 4 years and it was just flawless. This one I have now, I think I've had for 2. Yeah, I've had it for 2. I would have gotten it in 2024. April 2024. So it's almost 2 years old. Jason says, have a great weekend. Phone is dead. Hey, man, get your phone back up and running. Have a great weekend, man. Racer Ray, am I late? No, you were early. You were in here early. Ron says it shows Sergio's in Sykeston to be permanently closed. Max Witch Dick Dasher, now I have to cook something. What's everybody in here making for dinner, or what did they have? Because it's 9:28 here in the East. I know a lot of y'all don't eat dinner till after 9 o'clock. Ron says the breakfast at that barbecue joint is solid. Highly recommended. Cool. Rabbit Transit J said, who's going to bring a car with most of the engine in Rubbermaid containers this year? I'm in the mood for another all-night thrash. RP Dynalo, I've been looking for real estate around Sykeston. Nice. Looking to move there? Are you? I mean, because that's not a foregone conclusion that you're doing it to relocate. Thumper says, my baked chicken dinged a bit ago. I need to steam some rice now. Yep. I had Spanish rice a couple days ago. I like rice. It's okay. Kerosene Cucumbers swings in to say hi. Hello, sir. Dallas says, my iPhone 10 is still going since 2020. The battery dies in minutes, but it keeps clowns from calling. Great iPhone feature. iPhone 10 is still running. That's impressive because they're up to 17 now. So the 10s are, well, so they're up to 7 years old. Yours clearly and quiet. Yours close, though, 2020. You can get a battery put in them at Batteries and Bulbs. That's what I do when they start getting wonky. They don't last as long as the factory batteries. I can tell mine doesn't hold a charge as well as it did when it was new, but it's still okay. Dakota, slow down, man. Don't grease yourself doing that stuff. I don't want to read there was a crazy wreck somewhere, in Georgia. I mean, you can say it won't happen to you, but I know a guy I went to school with, 20 years old, rode that Mustang 5 or 6 times, died of head trauma. Just the same thing. Don says, Wendy makes a great Spanish rice. Been a while. Yeah, this was okay. How many are currently running in the No Name Nationals? We haven't had the event yet. There's no one currently running. We got good registration numbers, though. They're okay. So what happens is every time we open it, they blip up. We usually have about 20 register the first day. And then the numbers, they trickle in. And then there's a lull in the summer and they ramp up in the fall. And we generally have, 100 and some cars every year. And the numbers fine this year. I would love to have 150 pre-registered by Memorial Day. That would be enormously helpful, but we're not there yet. Kerosene Cucumber, did I miss the Wednesday Night Live or did not have one? Professor P, he was a little under the weather, so he did not have one. Dean says the last 660 feet of Sykeston is off limits as a real estate purchase. Well, the first 660 feet were purchased by Possum and family. Racer Ray is in Nebraska. Yes, Dallas confirms. Thumper confirms. Dizzy's saying he had catfish and steak, fries, and husk puppies. Cool. Sounds great. Racer Ray says there's a road close by that every year they let you open that throttle up. Big Blue Mile. We don't have any. We do have one straight stretch around here, and it's east of here. It's just before the Roanoke River, going east of here, and it's about a mile. It's just dead straight. Most of the old parts are on Ward. Just finished up a 3310 Holly for a buddy. Installed an NOS electric choke kit from 1977. It was a trip to nostalgia land. Cool. Those are cool carburetors. Cop Car Steve says hello from Canada. Glad you could make it. Wendy says I have an iPhone 8 that's still kicking. Yeah. Yeah, I took a big jump up. I went from the 4S. I had the 4, then the 4S, and the SE, then the SE 2.0, and then I went all the way up to the 15. So I guess I've had 5 iPhones. And I really like them. I like the iPhone a lot. Thumper says Todd doesn't do the Big Blue Challenge anymore. One of the property owners said no more after a $300,000 exotic rolled through his field. Bummer. Well, if it's something that's safe and supervised, that's cool. Danny Boyd says my 88 pulls really nice in third now. It was a dog when he first got it. Never had one that pulled hard in fourth. You know how to make that work. Dallas says my next phone will be a Nokia brick phone. If you can get them to work with the network. Levi just got in from Texas. Hello, Mr. Levi. RP Dynalo gets his burner phones from eBay, $100. Levi, Joe was in here earlier. He's going to have your number this year. Ron Ward says, I have 2 more 3310 carbs to build in the next couple of weeks. He misses his Berryman 0950 solvent. Yeah, they used to have some good stuff. Not like that anymore. Polishing up Dylan's jack stands tomorrow. What are they, chrome? I think I heard something about this. Well, Levi said Joe's going to have to bring more if he wants the bragging rights. You never know. Joe punked out a lot of people the first year. Punked out a lot of people the second year, too. Never take for granted what Joe's going to do. RP Download, who's everyone's favorite channel? Grace Array, I just got done sorting through the last parts order. Now I need to get started on this year's projects. I hear that. Well, I gotta get this van really sorted out because I'm gonna make the trip to Sykeston in it, hopefully. The one when I had that radiator blow up that year, I brought the CRV instead. And it worked fine. It was great. I just hooked up a little tag trailer and rolled on down the road. It was fine. It's great. And then that gave you a place to sleep, too. Danny Boy says, I don't think I've ever used a real jack stand in 40 years of fixing cars. Well, I sure hope you have a safe alternative. Dallas's favorite channel is Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood. That is a good one. Most of the old parts is those who swing for the fences often strike out. Confucius. No, my friend Vaughn once said, shoot for the moon, but if you miss, you'll land on Uranus. Dean Stevenson says the John Wilbert Experience channel. Mohawk got a new Galaxy 17. Doesn't know if you'll like it yet on week 2. Yeah, my dad hated the iPhone. We tried to get him to switch to an iPhone 1 week. Hated that thing. Dakota says Brian Cabral's my favorite channel. He's been gone, what, a year now? He might even be dead. I heard that his apartment was advertised for rent. I don't think he's in his apartment anymore. He might not even be alive anymore. Danny Boyd doesn't even have a garage. That doesn't stop a lot of people. Andy Wood built his whole truck right in his driveway. I don't like working in the garage. I just do not like it. Yeah, it would be nice when there's snow on the ground and stuff, but man, I don't like it. If at all possible, I really like the natural light and space of working outside. I just prefer it. Racer Races, my ride to Sykeston is the only one that's coming down that only needs maintenance. Everything else is major. I hear that. Danny Boyd, I've never had my own lift. Well, most people here haven't. I never have either. I got to use one when I was in trade school. It's okay. It's nice. Ron Ward had a Casio G-Zone. Was that a phone? Casio made phones? 12 years after the initial purchase. What year was that? Danny Boys, I think I'd rather have a welder than a lift. It's not an either-or thing. And you can get a flux core welder really cheap, and they'll do a lot of stuff. A lot of things they won't do, but there's a lot that a fluxy can do. Bigfoot Mark, he's at work, but got to sit down for a minute, says howdy. Hello, sir. I'm glad you could make it. A lift doesn't make you a better mechanic. No, but this is the difference, Danny. Danny Boyd and I have been a generation of rolling around on the ground working on cars more than you, Levi. It doesn't make you a better mechanic, but it makes you a whole lot less sore and a lot less hurting and all of that stuff. So I've paid my dues working on the ground, and I don't want to do it anymore. I'd love to have a lift. Cop Car Steve says he enjoyed the Sunday seminar, the content creator workshop, trying to put in practice. Yeah, it's just stuff that we've all learned from other people, friends who have learned this stuff, and we share whatever we know that helps. Lifts are for us older folks. I would love to have a lift. I got up and down into that van about 20 times today because you have to get under the front bumper to check the timing on a van. The way the engine sits under the cowl, you can't see the timing tab on the top. So they put one 90 degrees off on the bottom. That's how you read it on the van. So I have to stick my head under the bumper with the timing light to read it. I mean, you know, that up and down all day just kills you. So I would love to have a lift. And I'll tell you, you might think it's crazy, but where I would want to have my lift is back here on my patio behind the house beside the garage, outside, because I like working outside. To me, that would just be ideal. But all that natural light be great. One-Eyed Cat, his first pick is from June 2021, 383 and 225 aluminum block motor in the truck for bringing them home. Cool. Rabbit Trans Jay, knees killed from growing up working on cars. Jay's 50 this year. I mean, 50 very soon. Very soon. I mean, I get it, man. I'll be 50 next year. He's got a year on Jason and I. Danny Boyd likes the truck, no jack, unless the wheels come. Yeah, that is nice. That's one nice thing about Dad's Jeep. You can almost sit under that thing to work on it. You don't need a lift for anything unless the wheel's coming off of it. So I agree, same thing. I've never done anything under that Jeep really much except a drive shaft. Dallas says, my first garage was a one-car garage with a dirt driveway. If you've never had 3/4 plywood for jacking up cars, you real mechanic. I've done that. I've actually taken a strip of plywood, a narrow strip. It's only about this wide, okay, and then just about 4 feet long. So just like the end, cut off a sheet of plywood and taken that with me to the junkyard. And it helps if you cut a little hole in it so you can carry it. And that way you can get under a car. Of course, most junkyards won't let you use jacks anymore because of liability and stuff. Ron says, here in Kansas, an outdoor lift will be unusable 5 months out of the year, March, April, May, September, and October. Why? Why would that be unusable those months? Thumper says, I'm almost 57 and definitely got a lift when I built my shop in 2015. Best purchase I made for the shop. Lifts are nice. Or plywood to support maneuver cherry picker. Yeah, I've done that. That's a miserable day when you're doing that, though. Razor says 3/4 plywood's his whole floor. Yeah. Heavens Mopars, how do you know if your engine needs more carb CFMs? I've never put together anything bigger. Like a 750 will do, but I need an 800 plus. How many cubes is it? How many RPM are you turning it? T's Good Time Garage. Howdy. He says, hopefully a lift will make it so I can do this stuff a while longer. I know the feeling. Mexican Spec says, hello all. Howdy, Mexican Spec. Outdoor life is unusable here November to May. I have 4 feet of snow in the backyard after it's melted twice. Yuck. Not me. So do you have like a snow plow and truck or ATV snow plow and just plow continuously? Or how do you function where you can get in and out when it's like that? I mean, what do you do, Thumper? Because you have so much snow there, you'd have to have some way of doing it. I don't. I just drive out of the driveway with up to 6 inches of snow. Don't even worry about it. Dallas says, if the engine is pulling vacuum at wide open throttle, you need more carb. That makes sense. Of course, most people have more carb than they need anyway. RP Danilo says, where he lives, all the city slickers have gotten rid of the junkyards I love to walk through. Yeah, Those good old junkyards back in the day are just a thing of the past. My favorite junkyard was Cool Char's Junkyard in Tazewell, Virginia. That place was awesome. All kinds of cool old Mopars. Crushed them all. Dr. Go's recommending the Wallace Racing calculators. Yeah, free online. Dakota says, I won't run anything less than a 1050 Dominator. Do you have a 1050 Dominator? And Dean says math means nothing. No, math means a lot. The factory just, did what they wanted to do. And cars can only pull so many CFM. The car does not determine how many CFM your engine's pulling. Kerosene Cucumber says there's a Maritimer from Nova Scotia has workshops on YouTube on Tuesdays. Cool. Nice. Co's got a 1050 on his lawnmower. Yep, he rides that lawnmower so he can hit a guy with a mop bucket. Dallas says the thermoquad is an air valve secondary like a quadrajet. It's impossible to overcarb. Yeah. Dakota says, I don't own a lawnmower. Well, y'all have a really cool tractor there, though. You have the coolest lawnmower. Get a mowing deck for that thing. The power takeoff, that'd be cool. Wendy says the first picture of my phone is May 3rd, 2016. It'll be 10 years old. If it's native to that phone, that's amazing. I've got some that are dated and they weren't taken with this phone. Of course, this phone's 2 years old. Who's not ready for No Name Nationals 2026? Scott says 383 TRW high dome piston, 60 over, purple cam in 500 range. Edelbrock RPM air gap intake, 906 heads. If it's for the drag strip, I wouldn't at all be afraid to stick an 850 on that. Dallas says, gotta run, folks. Have a great night. See you, buddy. Thumper says, might splurge on a snowblower for my tractor. The cheapest ones are $4,000, though. Yeah, I get that. Cop Car Steve said he had to give all his lawnmowers away as a package deal and keep the best one. Yeah, I hear that. That almost sounds like an ultimatum from the spouse. The spouse or the city. I don't think I've ever seen Mohawk 62 put in the comments like that, but that works. Danny Boyd locks up his good mowers under the deck. And we don't ever get anything bothered here. I love it. Going to see if my ignition box straightens out my mystery problem tomorrow. Just simple swap over just to see. Thumper says he lives 20 miles from town with 300 feet of thick forest between the highway and my stuff. So I don't get bothered about having vehicles here. That's a good thing. I don't either, but I'm pushing it. Cop Car Steve says that wherever I would see a lawnmower on the side of the road, I couldn't help myself from picking up and throw it in the back of my truck. Oh, wow. You're a lawnmower collector, huh? Yeah, Bigfoot Mark said the 6'4" Hemi and his truck blew up. Yikes. NSB, welcome back. Never bought that land in 2013. Nobody strolls on there. Yeah, that's a good thing. I'd be content to not have neighbors anymore. I mean, my neighbors are great. I have no problem with any of my neighbors. My neighbors are great people. But I'd be happy to not have neighbors, you know. Racer Ray says the Mess 10 has the oil pressure problem and it gets a cam and a different transmission. The other car has been off the road for more than 40 years. Oh, well, that's, confidence inspiring. Cop Car Steve, I think we've lost track of the No Name Nationals and now turned into a John Deere commercial. John Deere commercial for what? We should talk about whatever. This is just a freewheeling Friday here. Dakota wants to know if anybody's ever put one of the Challenger Hellcat engines in a D150. I don't know. I don't know that I've ever seen one. I don't know. Thumper said my Cougar's been off the road 39 years. It's only 1987. Yeah, 1987 doesn't seem like it was that long. But all right, later, Levi. You take care. Thanks for coming by. Mexican specs that engines and everything these days. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I got to tell you, that stuff, it's just not that exciting to me. Or saying, forget about engine swaps, the D150, get a D50 and build that. Or Dakota. Main Street Mopar. The headers I got from Creedence Chrysler Revival are only 1 3/4 W2 truck headers I've ever seen. Hooker made them. I can't find any other info on them, though. I just call it a win. I don't know. Dakota like if you can buy a wrecked Challenger cheap or a stolen one. No. I seen where I have seen these thieves will they'll take these cars like the Challengers they steal and they'll literally cut them up into pieces and dump the pieces in neighborhoods. Like what is that? Is it Brightmoor or something neighborhood in Detroit? They'll just go out there in trucks and just dump the pieces and the pieces with the VINs and stuff. They'll dump them there and then sell a lot of parts. And it's terrible. Yeah, and it does, but the bottom line is you shouldn't do it anyway. Number or not, you shouldn't do it anyway. I mean, that's just you just want to be honorable, not steal. Not about whether or not you get caught. If he's willing to do it and knows it's stolen and gets caught, that's on him. Not everybody can pay him off. Well, they shouldn't buy them. I mean, people have no business buying that stuff if they can't afford it. None. Those are the kind of cars that shouldn't be financed at all. Those are the kind of cars that should just be cash only. If you can't afford them, you shouldn't have them. Destroyer 1320 is trying to stop all that theft. Well, he's making a difference. He's doing something good. Wrong English. Hello, peoples. Made it to the house after dinner with my lady. It's a local band called the Gnarly Knuckles. Great dinner music and no cover charge. Good deal. Army base, some E1 to E4 got one on 28% interest. Yeah. Well, interest rate aside, that whole financing and debt game is obscene. It is just crazy. It is appalling to me what people will go in and finance dealerships. I like Destroyer 1320's anti-theft products that block out the little neutral thing, which makes it a little harder. A thief would have to take a lot more time to get a neutral steel car. So I'm glad he does what he does. Makes a neat product. Danny Boyd's about had it with AVG, their constant pop-ups. Yeah, I had a pop-up right in the middle of this stream, and I couldn't, for a minute, I didn't know what it was. And I looked up and I had a new tab loading and I got rid of it. So it's a pop-up blocker, but it was a pop-up. I'm like, I have more pop-ups from the pop-up blocker than I do the pop-up stuff. So Mexican Spec said if cars still had steering wheel and gear shift lever locks, fewer cars would be stolen. Getting rid of that was stupid. I hate a steering column lock myself. And I don't like the gear shift lever lock either. I mean, these are things I thought all modern cars had. I thought that was pretty universal. I don't like either. Thumper said, when I was in San Antonio for training in 2004, I looked at a new GTO and they told me I had to pay 25% interest on a $35,000 car. I laughed and asked if I tattoo on my head is stupid. 25% interest on anything is just usury interest. We used to have usury laws in this country until the early 70s. And as soon as those usury laws got repealed, the credit card boom of high interest and all that just exploded. And the interest rates are just, they are ridiculous what's being charged in interest. Cop Car Steve says, we had weeks worth of rain today. It was the first sunny day, and I heard the sound of people revving motors and screaming tires. Yeah. I was trying to put the van under a good load to figure out how much time I could run in it. I was doing that too a little bit. The van runs pretty good now. Just got to figure out what this little ignition malady is. It's nothing big. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Anything? We're gonna wrap it up for the evening. Don't forget to watch Tech Talk Live on Wednesdays with Professor P in Dallas. I assume they'll be back live this Wednesday. If you've not yet registered for the No Name Nationals, there's a link pinned in the top. And with that, you get your 10 to 15% off everything on Edelbrock.com. And we will be live again next Friday right here. So with that, we're going to go ahead and shut down. What is some Mexican Spec? With cars being so electronic, why can't the charges lock the emergency? I don't want any of that stuff. That's just something that'll cause it to lock up when you don't want. That's just something to fail. That is just something I would never want, but that's just me. But that said, thank you guys for coming out. You guys have a fun and safe weekend, and we will see you again next week. Take care.